Hi guys, Hamster here. Got something I want to share with you guys. A lot of guys have revolvers. Revolvers have been around for a long time. They've been real popular. Especially what I have here is the Smith & Wesson J frame revolver. We can see here this gun is unloaded. And this has been a very popular firearm for a long time. It's been highly reliable. Just an outstanding carry gun. These are 5-shot. There's a variety of models in these. This is a model 640. This has a concealed hammer. This is a firearm that I have personally owned. I bought new and personally had now for over 20 years. It's been an excellent firearm. 100% reliable. I trust it 100% completely. There's always been a couple things that I never was quite happy with, and I decided to try to rectify those with some of the stuff that's available today. One of the things was the grip. The grip was always very small, and depending on how you're carrying it, that can be a plus. Since I no longer pocket carry this anymore, the shorter grip really wasn't giving any benefit to me. So to improve this revolver, I decided to go ahead and purchase the full-size synthetic grip from Smith & Wesson. This is the full-size grip for the J-frame. It attaches, just like the ones from the factory. This is a factory grip with the factory logo. It goes right on, uses one screw, and now it allows me to get a full grip on the pistol, which makes it easier for me to draw, and it makes it easier for me to shoot. Outstanding upgrade to my little 640 here. I think I paid $28 plus shipping. So I have a brand new factory grip, and the gun is much easier to draw and much easier to shoot. Also, with this rubber grip, it also covers the back strap, and that rubber protects me and isolates me from the frame of the revolver and really tames the recoil of the little snubby. So been real happy with the grip. It's worked fine. It fits absolutely perfect. The other thing I really was always a negative was the trigger pull. The trigger pull on this double action only revolver was extremely heavy, and it wasn't very smooth. I was always reluctant to try to do anything about it. The trigger pull on the stock was 12 pounds or more, and it was not very smooth, I'll put it that way. So it had an extremely heavy and not very smooth trigger pull. And there's a lot of kits on the market to fix that you can do yourself. So I decided to attempt to see how well that would work. So I purchased a custom tuned spring kit from Wilson Combat. This is the kit for the Smith & Wesson J frame. I gotta say, it worked extremely well. Was very easy to install. This whole project, I think I spent about 20 minutes on. That was in, removing the old grip and, changing out the springs, installing the new grip. And what comes in the springs was a set of springs. And basically I got a new hammer spring, an 8-pound hammer spring, and then I got 3 what they call trigger springs, a 13, 14, and 15. These are basically a trigger rebound spring. This is what actually resets the trigger after each shot. So once you pull the trigger, the spring that resets that trigger is one of these 3 triggers right here. The hammer spring was extremely easy to change. It was the easiest of all. It was about as easy as changing the grip. Basically, the hammer spring, once I pulled the grip off, then you could see the hammer spring, and then you basically got to you need to stage the guide rod so you can take the hammer spring off, and to do that I basically used a small paper clip. So to do that, basically you pull the trigger and you'll see the guide rod as it goes through the hammer spring, and then at a certain point you'll see a hole in that guide rod. Well, basically insert your paper clip, release your trigger, and that captures your spring and your guide rod. You can remove the guide rod, the spring, change it, reinstall your paper clip, then you'll be ready to reinstall. The only tricky part about this is dealing with the rebound slide. Now there's a rebound slide right in here that resets the trigger, and that's where these trigger springs here. Now they give you 3 of these springs. You don't need all 3. You pick one. The stock spring, I believe it's around 12 pounds. No, actually it's I think the top, no, I take it back. The stock rebound spring is around 18 pounds. And Wilson Combat gives you 3 springs, a 13, 14, and 15. Now what you want to do is try and install the lowest spring you can. So I started with the 13-pound spring, and then I was going to try it and make sure that the trigger reset properly. Because if the trigger doesn't reset properly, it doesn't have enough tension, well then you might need to go to the 14 or 15. So when you're installing this, try the 13-pound spring first, test it, see how it works, if the trigger resets properly. And you'll need to shoot it quite a few times. You'll need to shoot it slow, you'll need to shoot it fast, multiple rounds, to make sure that trigger resets properly. If the trigger doesn't seem to reset properly, then you're going to need to remove that spring and install the next heavier spring, and then try that. So basically, the only you need here was a screwdriver. You need a good quality screwdriver. Remove the side plate. A screwdriver or Allen wrench, depending on what your grip is. Remove the grip. Now the rebound slide where the spring goes, you will need a special tool to do that, to get that apart. And I picked this tool up here from Midway USA. This is a Wheeler Engineering tool. Very simple little tool. This is what it looks like. You can see here it has a little notch in it because there's a post on the frame that captures the spring. And basically this way it is offset will fit, and it will fit into a standard screwdriver. So you can put that in, and then you can use this to push the rebound spring, and then be able to lift the rebound spring and the whole rebound slide out. And this, taking it out is not a big deal, but getting it back in without this tool would be a nightmare, because it's a booger to put back in. Even with this tool, it would take you a couple minutes of pushing and then lining it up and getting it back in. But this tool, I gotta say, was well worth the money. It only cost $5. $5 for the tool, and like I said, the whole project took me about 20 minutes of my time. The spring kit was $9, and I can say the difference it made was night and day. So I didn't do any stoning, I didn't do any gunsmithing. I'm not a gunsmith, but I'm mechanically inclined, so this was a fairly easy project. Basically removing some screws, putting back in the same hole. The only thing was needing was making sure I had the proper tool to remove the rebound spring and reinstall it. This one worked fine with the 13-pound spring. So when I had the rebound slide out, all I did was clean it, lubricate it, swapped out the spring, put it back in, and then reassembled the gun, and then it's worked flawless. The trigger pull, like I said, I think the stock trigger pull was 12 pounds or more, and now it feels, this is just my guesstimate, I would say in the 8 to 9 pound range, but it is also much smoother. So for $9 in springs, a $5 investment in tool, 20 minutes of my own time, and the addition of the new grip, the new spring kit, a little cleaning, lubrication, I gotta say the outcome was fantastic. I wouldn't hesitate to do it again. So if you have a little Smith & Wesson, a little J-frame, I say definitely take a look at the custom spring kits. The one I tried was the Wilson Combat, and I gotta say I'm extremely happy with that. So the only thing you need to do is make sure you go out and try it. Like I said, try it rapid fire, make sure the trigger resets. I know a lot of people might be concerned with going with the hammer spring that's only 8 pound. Am I gonna have a positive ignition on that primer? And I did some tests before and after, and I did a few rounds before, and then I saved some brass after, and I was looking at the indentation on the primer, and I cannot tell the difference. So the strikes on the primer look virtually identical. I'm getting a very positive primer strike. I had no malfunctions. Every single time the gun worked. not one single issue. The trigger reset perfectly every time, but there could be an issue with, because revolvers are kind of finicky, they're timed, there are delicate precision things in there. So I say start with the lighter spring. If the trigger doesn't reset properly, then keep moving up progressively to the heavier springs. That's why they give you 3 springs. Try the 13. If the 13 doesn't work, go to the 14. If the trigger still doesn't reset fine, then go to the 15. And you should be at least 1 spring in here that should work with your revolver. And in the end result, you will have a gun that's much easier to shoot, much more enjoyable, because that other trigger was so stiff and notchy. It was very difficult to be extremely accurate with, and this has made it easier between the full-size grip and the much smoother and lighter trigger. And this is a carry pistol that's on my permit that I carry, so I wouldn't do anything that I thought would make this less reliable. And I think having a trigger in the 8 to 9 pound range is still a very heavy trigger for a concealed carry gun. It's not something I'm going to accidentally pull. It's going to take a pretty intentional pull on that trigger, even at 8 to 9 pounds. But it is extremely smooth, and it's much more enjoyable to shoot. So if you got a Smith & Wesson J frame and you were thinking about doing something about that trigger pull, and you didn't really want to do the time and expense to send it off to a gunsmith to have a full trigger job done, which I'm sure would be much better, but for a small investment of $9, you can change out your Rebound slide spring and your hammer spring, and you'll probably be quite impressed and quite happy. And I'm sure this pistol will go on to serve me quite well for the next 20 years, as it has the first 20. So quite happy with that. But check out the custom spring kits from Wilson Combat. These parts are available at Brownells and Midway USA for, you know, basically a $15 investment and 20 minutes of my time. Night and day difference in the way the firearm operates. Thanks for watching.